Hey everyone, Jughead's Journey here. Welcome back to our Let's Watch Hunter x Hunter series. Today we will be watching episode 77, Unease and Sighting. We officially began the new Chimera Ant arc last episode. If you watched my post-episode analysis podcast discussion, you'll know I had strong opinions about it. I don't know where we go from here. Kite, Gon, and Killua together. We obviously have to learn more about the Chimera Ants, but let's not waste any more time. Tune in to my full uncut reaction and stay for my in-depth analysis afterwards. So, Hunter x Hunter episode 77 in 3, 2, 1, let's watch, shall we? Immediately picking up with the Chimera Ant Queen, who must give birth to the king. Entering this new arc, I need to learn more about the Chimera Ants. We're going to be getting a lot of exposition. Going to be getting intro. I shall skip. I don't want no spoilers, nothing. I'm not anticipating any action this episode. We've only just entered the arc. We've only just met Kite. We'll be learning what Kite has been doing all these years. Maybe what kind of hunter he is. He was staking out this Chimera Ant arc nest, biological surveying. So we know a man who doesn't like to kill, who takes after Jing. He's a scientist. He's a researcher. Camp Tiger. So he's a part of a large research study. So are we going to be meeting his group of fellow research scientists? I like that from Kite. I bet Gon is going to love this line of work. And I assume wherever they're at, this is their mission to study the Chimera Ant. And that's why he was staking out this nest. Well, there's a larger version of this guy in a cave somewhere. So, definitely going to be dealing with a larger creature. Oh God. Don't do this to me. I'm going to have to know 7 people's new names. Okay, so they're not pro hunters. They're Is that a koala? Oh God. Okay, so there's 4 right. I'm not good with names. Don't do this to me. I need a pen and paper. I'm gonna have to take notes. Okay, let's play. Afro, koala, overalls, beret. I'm gonna have to link that to your actual names when I find them out. We're meeting new characters. So they're amateur hunters. They haven't taken the hunter exam. They're not pros. They're like interns, apprentices. They have... Okay. Spinner, Clow. Magenta hair, beret. That's how I remember people. I always go by hair and outfits. Okay, or spin. Okay, spin, 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 spin. Sorry to keep pausing, but I need to do this. You know how bad with names I am. They're gonna see that last name. They're gonna see that last name. This is son of Jing, who are pro hunters. These 12-year-olds are pro hunters. And you guys are amateurs. They're gonna know that last name too, right? A little more imposing. 2 names everyone around the world knows. Show him some respect. Why does he look like a koala? The Chimera Ant? What's your name? Monta Yuras. But call me Mon. That makes it a lot easier. Spinner to spin and Monta to mon. So Monta Yuras is koala. So I'm remembering you. Stick dinner. How ironic. You handle the dinner. Yep, stick dinner. Afro. He also has the Jenny symbol on his shirt. Okay, these are some whack names. Banana Kavaro. Pink pixie hair. And a dog. Podungo and Lin. Ooh, did they find it? Did they cite? They cite a new Chimera Ant? Hopefully not the fucking big one. Little pincer. Ooh, Chimera Ant Queen. That's a lot smaller than the Clow we saw on the in the cave. It's grown fast. Well, it's about to be as big as a fucking human arm. Yeah, no normal ant. It has to eat a lot. One. Kaken official. Is that a country? The Asian continent. Okay. That's one. Oh, so I see the other two people. Podungo and Lin on the bottom right there. Whoa! 200, did he say 200 years? I don't think Kite does this for a salary. Yep. It's the passion. So this is one. Looks like a typical Japanese salaryman. So Kaken is a nation. Unidentified organism. Seller can't list it in the... Yeah. I also don't know why, but every time I always get like so thrown back by like modern technology and modern metropolitan cities in the world of Hunter x Hunter. I don't know why. Whoa. Oh, is this the arm that was missing? That queen, we saw she was missing an arm. So this is new. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me guess, this is Lin. I'm sorry, but... I didn't go back far enough. Maybe we'll see him again. Yeah, almost like fingers. Talking like human body part. Dude. This, I'm sorry, saying as an American, this is like the most like racist Japanese stereotype that you would see in like old World War II anti-imperial Japan propaganda, like all the cartoons and everything. So Lin, racist stereotype. And this is Podungo, silver hair tiny person. I love seeing Kite as a teacher and a leader, leading these fellow amateur hunters. who may not be ready, but might certainly have the potential because of Kite to take the exam and pass the exam. One day. Yes! 2 new little interns. Little participants. They're probably going to be such a knack at this. I know, to participate with Jing's son and a Zoldyck. We weren't born with the talent. Talent's not everything. Hard work is. Look at this. What does Gon always do? Win people over. Good with animals and blessed with good friends. Do you see that? You see that smile from Killua right there? I like that too. Blessed with good friends. I love the addition to that of good with animals, blessed with good friends. I love that line. This is Queen a little pescatarian. Catching some evening views. Oh, moving on to bats. Never mind. Fucking disgusting. I need more. We moving on to people. Or deer or something. Fish and bats in a cave isn't enough. We need to start eating some deer, some people or something. Yeah, fish population. Look at Mon is just packed like a sardine back there. So you have to grow, grow, and grow, and grow. Being larger doesn't always aid survival, as we know from Uvogen. How do they reproduce? Phagogenesis. What is that? Okay. Eats an organism. Pass the traits on from those. Whoa! Whoa! You can also eat multiple species, pass on a mix of genes to her offspring. Whoa! Now, phagogenesis is not a real scientific term. I mean, this don't exist. Unless it's like a hypothetical and that's what the term is called. And I've never heard of it before, but I think this is a hunter term. You know what this reminds me of? The xenomorphs from Alien. Kind of do the same thing. Not in the same way, where by eating, you somehow absorb the DNA of what you consumed, but whereas the face hugger latches onto its host, parasite, and the chest burster takes on the offspring of that, takes on the DNA of the host. Hence why in the first Alien and the second Alien, human host, bipedal, things like that. And then in Alien 3, a dog, facehugger latches onto a dog, and it's a quadruped alien. And you see that in Prometheus, and you see that in what's the Alien Covenant. The Chimera Ant also looks a lot like the xenomorph, the alien. I wonder if that's a inspiration. Like when it was eating the fish, and I commented about the human-looking teeth and the tongue, and it's opening its mouth and its biting looked a lot like the xenomorph, like when its second mouth comes out. Yep, devouring humans. Is that foreshadowing to what we're about to witness? Humans are about to be eaten, and now we're gonna witness a half... Oh, don't eat children. Oh, we're about to watch some children die. We're about to see some kids get killed. Eaten. Hey. Oh, smack the shit out. Gonna eat these kids and come out looking a little more human. You ain't making it home. I don't think. Oh, never mind. There's a reason we're focusing on these kids. Kurt. Kurt and Reina. The eggs look like the facehugger eggs too. Uh-oh. What's it gonna look like? Is it gonna look like a bat or a fish? Okay, it's looking like a whole mix of shit. There's the bat. What the fuck is that? So wasn't the thing is that these guys can't reproduce, but they're going to bring more food in, and the next time she reproduces, it will be more human looking if those kids get taken. Huh? Don't do that. Don't do that. That's gonna be an awful surprise for Mom. Let's stay home. It's gonna be the last time you see your children. She reminds me of, like, the hair is not the same, but she reminds me of what's her name from Dragon Ball. Bulma? I don't know why. Is that supposed to be a crab? Because she was eating stuff in the ocean and on the shore. Is that supposed to be a crab? Also, look how huge it is. Again, like the xenomorph, where it rapidly grows. Okay. I wasn't expecting that brutality right there. Damn! I need more of this species. So gonna eat more and more humans. So her offspring is gonna end up looking more and more human. Dude. The buck rabbit teeth. The eyes and glasses. Jesus. Tagashi, you really went after that stereotype. And I don't know what the hell Podungo is supposed to be. Looking like a Oompa Loompa. Gon will find it. Oh, it's still alive. This is giving me Scooby-Doo, yeah, I was about to say the same thing. His nose is as sharp as a dog's. And Gon is gonna find it first. Before the dog. Yep, and Gon's gonna find it. Nope. Oh, I thought that would have been amazing if Gon found it and the dog couldn't. Oh, that's what I was saying. It was the split up. I was getting big Scooby-Doo vibes with the dog. Stick Dinner reminds me of Shaggy. What's her name? Banana reminds me of kind of like a Velma, while Spin reminds me of a Daphne. The dog is Scooby or Scrappy. And they're splitting up. And this is kind of like a mystery. And this is the mystery machine. So start looking into missing persons reports. This one has wings. What the hell is this? Is that a bird? Eagle? Ew. Oh shit. Wait. It can telepathy? Is this the... Wait. What did it eat before? Because wasn't this egg already hatched before she ate the two little kids? Because this looks like Kurt. The offspring took the DNA from Kurt. But also has wings. And these are pure, I guess. He looks so much different than the other Chimera Ant offspring. Ah, okay. Born with human genes. So I guess this one was born later. Okay. This episode blew by. It was very quick. Much more simple and grounded too, but that's expected. We're just entering the new arc. We're still walking through the gateway. We need to learn more about the Chimera Ants and the threat they pose. The stakes still need to be set. We can't just linger on sentimentality and all that after our reunions. We need context and exposition. We have new characters to get attached to. We need a clean, clear foundation to build from. Anytime there's a new arc, no different here, to heighten the horror that's to come, because that's the genre I really think Chimera Ant arc is going to be, horror. We need to contrast it by being grounded in the happy things like camaraderie and friendship, levity and comic relief, exploration and curiosity, that juxtaposition we're about to be thrust into. That's not to say this episode is empty or boring or anything like that. Quite the contrary. There's like half a dozen lines of dialogue I could spend 10 minutes on each, dissecting and breaking down. There are great characterization moments. The world building that gets expanded. My jaw dropped during this episode. So let's talk about why this was a great episode. First of all, I love the line of work Kite is in. Gon asked Kite, what does he do for work? He wants to learn more about Kite, what kind of hunter this man is. And Kite says, biological surveying. That's like a breath of fresh air in a way. Perfectly fits Kite as the man we somewhat know from the pieces of character personality and lore we can start to piece together from the past and now in the present. And also, biological surveying, that is so far removed from the hunters we've encountered over the course of the last two arcs, and so far removed from the jobs and professions and contracts those hunters or nen users were in themselves. I love finally witnessing non-violent hunter professions and instead actual academic, intellectual group work, actual like careers. In the beginning of Hunter x Hunter, even when you first turn on the show and watch the intro for the first time, you're told about hunters of all kinds, geniuses, athletes, politicians, scientists, inventors, treasure hunters. But we see so little of that, honestly, so far. We mostly see nen used for violent means, or hunters and group organizations like the Phantom Troop, the Ten Dons, or even like Batera's contract team, underground black market stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Killers, bounty hunters, security, mafia, mercenaries, blacklist hunters, contractors. Those are all aplenty in this world. And that is really the point of a harsh, realistic world. But we've only seen gourmet hunters once for a glimpse with Menchi and Buhara. Melody, the music hunter, but we only really saw her as a bodyguard for the Nostradas. Satots only briefly talks about his passion for archaeology and inspiration from Ging as like an archaeologist, artifacts, ruins hunter when talking to Gon on the bench. Bisky is a stone or gem hunter. I forgot what she called herself. I remember Pockle at the end of the hunter exam talked about becoming a beast hunter. I want to see more of that. Botany, biology, chemistry, astrophysics, medicine, architecture, writing, paleontology, treasure. Just give me that. So I loved it when Kite self-identified as a biological surveyor. He's a scientist, an explorer, cataloging, studying, and collecting all different kinds of specimens. Who knows if that could include plants and other flora or just animals and insects, since he talked about the camp tiger and how he specializes in large animals, but his current mission is the Chimera Ants. His work can just be so diverse, as well as what that work could be for, scientific or medical or industrial value, or conservation even. It is an honorable discipline. Emphasis on the word discipline. Kite isn't out there chasing bounties or solving crimes. He's mapping out the unknown in the animal kingdom, the unknown realms of nature, expanding his knowledge and humanity's knowledge about the world. He probably absorbed Jing's fascination with uncovering the unknown as he was taught by him. Or Kite always had this similar passion, and it was just Jing who unlocked the possibility to explore that side of himself. And I was surprised because it does not necessarily fit with the glimpse of Kite's Nen ability I saw last episode, Crazy Slots. Summoning a random weapon to use in battle does not really align with the work he's doing. That's why I said I was surprised. We saw his Nen ability first, so I form an idea based off of that, not seeing his work first. So we see his Nen ability first. You can't help but form in a judgment, an idea, a thought based off that, what you're exposed to, what you see. And then we see his line of work, which goes totally opposite what I assumed. I like that. It's like, despite what he loves doing as a pro hunter, he understands the realities of this world. It's dangerous and deadly. And even though he hates to kill and take a life, he will if he must, and is trained in diverse weaponry. Even crafted a whole Nen ability around having powerful weapons in his arsenal at his disposal whenever necessary. Very powerful ones, considering he places conditions and limitations on them. Powerful against human or creature, I suppose. As a biological surveyor, he studies patterns and cycles of nature, the laws of nature. But he also knows nature is inherently unpredictable and chaotic. Crazy Slots embodies that. A man who does not want to kill and who does not wish for violence, but at the spin of a talking slot machine is given an unpredictable but powerful weapon to use. I'm sure Kite learned from his own childhood as well as from his apprenticeship under Jing that, yeah, knowledge is power, that old cliche phrase, but knowledge alone can't save you. Good idea to have something else too in your back pocket. Crazy Slots is that safety net. Kite isn't seeking out battle for its own sake. I don't think Kite thrives in combat, but you gotta arm yourself when required in order to protect yourself, protect your friends, preserve your life's work, and your precious knowledge. Kite would rather just do his work, observe and catalog and understand, rather than kill. But spinning Crazy Slots, he submits to the risk all gamblers take. This spin will be a gun, will be a sword, will be a mace, will be an axe. Crazy Slots is his moral ambivalence to violence. He does not choose the weapon or instrument. The weapon or instrument chooses him, and whatever he gets, he must wield it in his hands responsibly and fiercely. I also really liked when we met the rest of Kite's research group. They immediately come up and ask Kite, who are these kids? Kids. And I mean, on the surface, upon first glance, that's all Gon and Killua appear to be when the team first meets them. It's not until they're formally introduced to him that they learn this is Gon Freaks, the son of the world-famous Jing Freaks. They hear and instantly know that last name. They gasp and react in awe. I'm sure they already knew about Jing even before Kite. He's a legend. But then working with the one and only student of Jing is probably exhilarating to them too. 1 degree of separation from the Jing Freaks. Same with Gon. Same thing with Gon. They now know the son of Jing. Even closer than Kite. Friend of Jing, son of Jing. Gon is actually by blood, though they don't know Gon is actually in the same boat as them. He may be his son, but Kite is also Gon's 1 degree of separation from his own father. He's no closer to Jing than they are. And I'm sure, because Kite, I'm sure, doesn't tell everyone how much of a deadbeat dad Jing is. Then they're introduced to Killua Zoldyck. Again, they hear and instantly recognize that last name. Zoldyck, the legendary assassin family. They react in fear initially instead of awe, like with Gon. They actually take a step back and not forward. A name can carry a lifetime of reputation. Freaks, the hunter who vanished into myth to chase dreams and do what most can only dream of. Feats and discoveries and contributions to the world they've only read about in books. Zoldyck, the most feared assassin dynasty in the world. So these aren't just kids, like the group presumed. You adults over here were in awe of one of them and afraid of the other. One has killed more than all of you combined, has killed more than Kite probably has. And the other one is an untapped well of aura, as they can imagine. If only y'all were witnessing, if only y'all were witness to Gon's fight against Genthru, seeing his arm willingly blown off, your minds would have exploded. You don't even know that these are 1 in 10 million kids. On top of that, these two kids are pro hunters. They've taken the hunter exam and they passed. Kite makes sure to let them know of that too. While you, the rest of the group, are all amateurs. So like Kite said, the group should show them some respect. They're not just kids. They have earned merit, which shoots down superficial assumptions. The rest of the team, they only thought in terms of age and size. Hearing those names, finding out they're pros, they gotta recalibrate. Age is irrelevant in Hunter x Hunter. They each come from famous bloodlines with legendary last names attached to them, but they're each impressive in their own right. Each their own individual with their own amazing feats and accomplishments and stories. And they're pro hunters on top of that. These kids have faced challenges and dangers that these amateurs couldn't imagine. These kids will go on to face horrors these amateurs can't imagine. That's the hierarchy, in a way, of pro hunters. They have a heavier burden to bear. Also, these two boys never lean on their famous names. They earn their own respect. None of the doors that have been opened for them were because of their names. They never share it. That's what their journeys are all about. They both inherited monumental reputations, but their journeys are about forging their own paths. They don't want to be known as or greeted as the son of blank. They want to be recognized as themselves. And I love how Kite called Gon and Killua research assistants, legitimize them. We learn that the group has been conducting biological surveys with Kite for 3 years. So I think that would place them first working together like shortly right after Kite was on Whale Island, right? I think that was 3 years ago or something like that. If Gon was saved by Kite when he was 10, took the exam as soon as he hit 12, a full year passes when they're on Greed Island because Killua retook the exam, left, took the exam, came back. So right towards the end, a week or two, a couple weeks before the end of Greed Island is a full year. So 3 years. So I assume even that time back then, when Kite and Gon first met, Kite was already in this line of work, or at least broadly speaking, a pro hunter with a focus on animals and insects and plants, biology and stuff. Hence, why Kite had no fear against the fox bear. Makes sense how he knew all that information about the species, its mating season, its markings, yelling at Gon how basic this information was. Also makes sense how easily he dispatched the large beast and why he was so upset he had to kill. Because he works in animal research and animal studies. who specializes in large animals, he said. So a fox bear is right up his alley of expertise. Kite wishes to study and research animals, understand them better, not have to take their lives. So I think that's really interesting. You get to connect the dots like that. My worst nightmare for these Let's Watch series, a handful of new characters showing up and having to learn and remember all their names. That is my Achilles heel. I'll be keeping... Where'd it go? Oh. I'll be keeping this little note on my desk as I try to memorize them. Stick, dinner, banana, spinner, Clow, or just spin, Monta Yuras, or just Mon, Lin, and Podungo. Notice how Banana's dog instantly ran into Gon's arms. Sign of a good hunter right there. This whole group feels very Scooby-Doo in the gang. They got a dog and a guy that looks like a koala. Either of them could be Scooby. Mon could also be like a Fred, and Banana's dog could be Scooby-Doo. Banana is Velma. Spin is Daphne. Stick is so obviously Shaggy. Solving mysteries, looking for clues, splitting up. They even have their truck, their own mystery machine. This group fills us in on some more information about the Chimera Ants. This is how we get our exposition. This is how we get our lore building. How someone found a limb washed up on shore, but no body. We're obviously meant to piece together the fact that the queen was missing an arm last episode. This is that arm. So somehow, this queen washed up on shore from somewhere. Something happened to her that she lost an arm. Where does this ant come from? Has to be a faraway place for nobody on the main continents to have ever identified, witnessed, or come across a dangerous species like this. So has to be somewhere undiscovered, unknown, somewhere far away. What was on the other side of this ocean? You know, the other side of the world. That this ugly, scary, killer evolved ant species inhabits. Like, what the hell else got to be out there that a species like this evolved into that? You know, we're all products of our environment. Darwinian evolution. Kind of like Dune, the Sardaukar and the Fremen who survive and grow up on their planets are the strongest fighters because of the harsh, unforgivable living conditions. So where did this queen ant wash up from? You know, is it some like unknown, terrible island hidden somewhere out there on the other side of the ocean or planet? You know, kind of like Christopher Columbus sailing and discovering a whole new continent. Could be kind of like a Skull Island where King Kong was from, where there were also dinosaurs still alive and a whole host of ginormous, terrifying insects and other unknown species. That scene from the 2005 King Kong movie where that guy gets eaten alive by those bloodworm-looking things when he eats his head, that still lives in my mind. That scared the hell out of me as a kid. So this ant limb was brought to the Southern Peace Auction, which was the auction in Yorknew back in the Yorknew arc. I love that connection thread. I love the subtle world building constantly being added subtly. It's not always necessary. Like if you miss it, no big deal. But if you catch it, awesome. Great for the world building. Like when it's mentioned that their surveying work is being done on Kakin, a nation on the Asian continent. Subtle world building details like that I love. So this ant arm was brought for the auction, but because the species couldn't be identified, they couldn't list it for sale. So it's just sitting there. So they know this ant can get huge. They saw the arm and how big it was compared to the tiny pincers they collected in jars and the little ants that Kite killed in the nest. They know just how big it can get, or at least the queen. They have no idea how truly big they can get. We saw it, they haven't. And this is just south of Yorknew City. This is where the queen is, where the arm washed up, right where a huge population of people is. That's scary and dangerous. We're not in the middle of nowhere. Not in that desert they were driving through. This is like right by a huge metro city. But moving on, I want to talk about a line from Kite that is my favorite this episode, and also one of my favorites this whole series. I'm serious, because of how much it ties together. When everyone's walking together as a group, Kite trailing behind, watching the group ahead of him, Kite is looking at Gon, already getting along so well with the group, particularly Stick Dinner, despite having only just met them literally that day. Kite thinks to himself about Gon. In this brief period of time, they've become good friends. Kite sees Banana's dog licking Gon's face, loving Gon, and Kite thinks to himself some more. Good hunters are well liked by animals, and also blessed with good friends. I love that so much. We already know how good hunters are well liked by animals. That's been said a number of times already throughout 77 episodes, but that second part felt very powerful and special to me. When he added that good hunters are blessed with good friends. Not only can you tell a good hunter by the fact animals flock to them, you can also tell a good hunter by the company he keeps, or the company they keep, by the good friends they have and surround themselves with. People flock to them too. A good hunter isn't alone. True hunters make friends, have friends, keep friends, and aren't reserved to solitude. Gon is loved by animals anytime he encounters them, and Gon always manages to win people over. They can't help but like him, warm up to him, and ultimately want to help and support him. He wins everyone over constantly. And he's blessed with good friends. Just think about it, from Killua to Leorio to Korpika to Wing to Zushi to Zebro and Goto to Zepile to Bisky to Gorenu to Sesgera to all the Greed Island game masters to Kite. Even here. He even wins over Phantom Troop members like Nobunaga, who wants to recruit him. Even Hisoka, if you could call that friends or just friendly. Gon approaches every new being, human or animal, with just pure curiosity and generosity. It's in his posture, it's in his tone of voice and his choice of words. It all expresses just like trust and safety rather than threat. That opens people up to him. He doesn't hide anything, not fear or pain. Vulnerability equally invites trust and openness in others. Gon's network has grown so large over the course of 77 episodes, all organically. Whether it first began with just simple fishermen on Whale Island and his village, growing to the people not only proctoring but taking the hunter exam, and now they've spread around the globe, growing to Korpika's circle in Yorknew and his own connections, expanding vastly on Greed Island, to now Kite's survey team here. Many happily stand beside him. And let's not forget about Killua. Let's talk about Killua too. I think this line from Kite also goes to Killua in a more emotional way, because we can look back to Killua's past. A kid who just desired friendship, a different life. He has a best friend, Gon. He is blessed with great friendships too, as opposed to the lonely, distant life as an assassin that he may have been doomed with. Killua embraced his desires, never let go of them. Look where it's gotten him. So much. You can make for a great assassin. You can make for a great hunter, but I don't believe you can be both. Killua was the prodigy in his family, with the potential to be the greatest Zoldyck assassin, better than his father, his grandfather, his brother, but that's not what he desired. He didn't want something more physically or egotistically. When he wanted something more emotionally. Something was pulling him. He wants to be a hunter, a great hunter, whatever it ends up being. He already is the better hunter than his family. He is a great hunter, which his family will never be. And he is blessed with great friends, which his family will never have or know. Every trait that makes him a great hunter is an antithesis to his family's legacy. Goes against everything there is to being the best assassin. Everything his family taught him and tried to drill into him. He gave up the potential to be the best assassin just so he could have friends and be himself, which are the signs of a great hunter. Killua has already surpassed his own family. Silva and Zeno and Illume, they have the cold efficiency to win battles and be great assassins, but only Killua can summon the loyalty of true friends to stand behind him that make him a great hunter. That is how he was rescued in the first place. I just think that's so powerful. Even think back all the way to the beginning of this series too. Remember episode 5. Hisoka told Gon he passed his test. Hisoka told him, grow up and become a fine hunter, because Gon came to rescue his friend Leorio. Same thing happens in episode 8 of 1999. He tells Gon, it's nice to have friends, isn't it? And he told Gon he passed. Likewise, of course, the manga, Hisoka told Gon, friendship is a nice thing to have. You'll make a fine hunter. The manga in 1999 have Hisoka use the word friendship and pretty directly inform us what it is Gon did to pass his test. Whereas in this adaptation in episode 5, it's more show don't tell, or just, not on the nose. We're meant to understand it indirectly without being outright told that it is friendship. And Hisoka is a fascinating character for this. Hisoka doesn't have friends. He is a pro hunter, technically. He has the license, but he only completed the exam for the perks and the additional network access a license provides. He hunts. He's a great fighter, incredibly strong nen user, but would I call him a great hunter if going off these two identifiable traits Kite says? Not at all. I mean, the first, we just simply never, I don't think we've once seen Hisoka interact with an animal. 2, he doesn't have friends. He talks of friendship like a philosopher who doesn't follow his own philosophies. He sees friendship in others as an avenue to get closer to prey, or see friendship in others as indicative of them being strong, potential to fight. Gon risking his life to save his friend is the kind of resolve Hisoka wants to see from someone he could potentially fight one day. That's all Hisoka sees. And like during the dodgeball match, Hisoka, by being friendly with Gon, got to witness him unleash his aura, see that fruit continuing to ripen and grow. He was happy for that. Hisoka doesn't consider Gon, Killua, Illumi, Kurapika, whoever else as friends. If you're friends with someone, it's because you like them, which would also mean you respect them, I hope. But to Hisoka, if he likes someone, he just likes what he sees. And if he likes someone, he does also respect them, but respect as in the sense he respects their potential and respects how strong they are as nen users or fighters. So if he likes you and respects you, he doesn't want to be your friend. He wants to be your next duel. If Hisoka likes and respects you, that means you're on his list. He wants to kill your ass. Which is funny. If he doesn't like you, it's because you aren't worthy. You're unimpressive. You won't grow into anything more. You're a waste of space. He wants to kill you because you don't even deserve to live and share the same air as he does. But if he does like you, he still also wants to kill you. But it will be a glorious battle. And we learn a new concept today. A new word. Phagogenesis. Essentially, reproducing through devouring. I looked up phagocytosis, where cells engulf particles and things like that. And I also looked up parthenogenesis. That I already knew, which is just, asexual reproduction without any fertilization. So phagogenesis combines these two ideas. Phagogenesis. When a Chimera Ant queen consumes another organism, she is able to pass traits on from that organism to the next generation, her offspring. And she can even eat multiple species and pass on a mix of genes, hence the word chimera in its name. We learned a lot today about these creatures. Again, like I said, second episode in, we got to get a lot of exposition and context. Depending on her feeding, she can lay 1 to 5 eggs, so she must eat a lot and must upgrade her food. Like we saw, fish and crab and bats, not cutting it. Need more. Also, that only the queen lays eggs via phagogenesis. The first generation cannot reproduce. I don't fully know what that means. I assume that means the soldier ants, just soldiers, sterile, infertile. But then more advanced forms, can they reproduce or still no? Is it still just the queen? I assume so, because that's like how normal ants and colony insects work. Would second generation mean only the king himself has the capacity to mate and reproduce? I don't really get how that works, so I'm not going to bother spending too much time on that part. I know we'll get it. I'll see it at some point. I'll wait to see that play out. But since we're talking about the Chimera Ant Queen, I gotta say, the more I saw this Queen Ant this episode, actually standing up and walking around and talking, I got major alien vibes from it. I'll put pictures up on screen somewhere to help visualize, but to me, looks so much like the xenomorph designed by H.R. Geiger. The exoskeleton body, the claws, definitely the mouth by far. Very much xenomorph. Even the way the Chimera Ant and the xenomorph reproduce are similar, although obviously different, but Alien is meant to be a psychosexual horror movie, supposed to symbolize sexual assault, the corruption of innocence. If you watch it with that frame of reference in mind, it's glaringly obvious and even more uncomfortable. The Chimera Ants are definitely not symbolic of sexual trauma, but they are symbolic of the same corruption of innocence. Humanity devoured. The physical, literal pieces of you turned into monstrosity. But think about how each reproduce. The face hugger is a larval form whose sole purpose is to implant an embryo inside a living host. The face hugger latches onto a host's face with its legs, wraps its tail around the neck to force the host to open their mouth and gasp for air, where it then forces a long tube, proboscis, down the host's throat to implant the embryo as it renders the host unconscious with like a chemical it secretes. It's not totally decided whether it's in the stomach or in the lungs. The face hugger feeds the host with oxygen. They say that in Alien. I always thought it was in the stomach, But when you watch the extended cut of Alien, Ripley remarks how there's a black stain on Kane's lungs when looking at the body scans. So I don't know. Also, the chest burster happens up here, not down here, really. I don't know. We also don't know if it's an actual embryo that gets implanted or if it's that black goo seen in Prometheus and Covenant and Romulus. Don't get me started on those movies. I hate those movies for the complicated, shitty lore they added to this universe. But the most agreed upon theory right now is that it doesn't implant or impregnate a host with an actual embryo or embryonic xenomorph. It actually deposits the black goo into the host, which then, if you've seen Prometheus, seen Covenant, seen Romulus, you know how that black goo operates. That black goo then causes the host's body to restructure its own cells, essentially causing the host's body to assemble the chest burster at the cellular molecular level using its own biological material, DNA, which is why and how the xenomorph shares the host's DNA and some of the species' physical traits. You know, the xenomorphs in Alien and Aliens are bipedal because they come from humans. But in Alien 3, the facehugger attacks a dog, and the xenomorph that emerges from the dog, the chest burster that grows into the xenomorph, that emerges, walks on all fours and has a more pronounced tail, like a dog. And then in Alien versus Predator, those movies, the xenomorphs spawned from the Yautja, the predators. That's their species name. They're called Predaliens, which I think is a cool name, Predaliens, and they look literally like half predator, half xenomorph. So the xenomorph inherits traits from the victim. The Chimera Ant Queen, on the other hand, consumes the prey whole, eats it. And whether it's, I don't know, a Nen-driven reproductive system or something, you know, at the physical cellular level, similar to aliens, similar to real life, the queen lays eggs that hatch into ants carrying the genetic physical traits of whatever she devoured. I'm unsure if genetic memories are carried over as well, because that's argued over as well in the Alien universe too, whether personality or intelligence traits carry over. But like we saw at the end of the episode, this squadron leader, Ant, even retained the child's face. So what if it resonates with the personalities or memories of its former life as well? What if it speaks the child's same voice? We only heard it communicate telepathically. That would be dark as hell. So you can see how similar the Chimera Ant and Xenomorph are. Once I, describe both, you can see the similarities, not just in physical appearance, but even in the mechanics of reproduction. Involuntary genetic theft, I guess you could call it. A living being's identity taken to produce a monster, a new horror. That's what I meant by innocence corrupted, innocence and purity taken. In both, the monsters literally wear aspects of its victim. Intense and super dark if you really choose to break it down and analyze it this way that I did. I would love if Togashi ever came out with like a comprehensive movie list. His favorites are the ones that inspired him as a creator himself. Just like, it could even be a top 50, top 20. I'll do top 10. Alien has to be up there because of what I just said, along with like The Thing, The Fly, Dawn of the Dead, Friday the 13th, like a Jason Voorhees, or Frankenstein. I can see the vibe of like old Kurosawa samurai drama epics or more American spaghetti westerns. Let me tell you Another huge influence I felt this episode. Major Dragon Ball vibes this episode. Both the original Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And I know this isn't a far stretch. I've been told before Togashi is a huge DB fan, growing up on the manga in the 80s and 90s, and you can see him riffing and weaving Toriyama's design language and narrative tropes and work into Hunter x Hunter across 77 episodes, across the manga, across the 1999 adaptation. The same way many modern anime do the same with Hunter x Hunter. I mean, I was told the new Solo Leveling pays huge homage to Hunter x Hunter by heavily borrowing from this very arc, like, completely. I haven't seen Solo Leveling, and I'm only, like, 2 episodes into this Chimera Ant arc here, so I don't know how it nods or tips its cap to Hunter x Hunter. I'm just told that it does. You know, everything builds from what came before. Nobody exists in a vacuum. Like, what does Quentin Tarantino, like, say? You know, good artists borrow, great artists steal, which is hilarious because he even stole that quote from, like, Picasso, who said the same thing. Good artists copy, great artists steal. Which I'm sure Picasso took from someone else, and so on and so on. That's the whole point. Kurt and Reina, when this episode, reminded me a lot of, like, a little Bulma and a little Vegeta, who are married in Dragon Ball Z, which makes that comment from Reina when she tells Kurt, "One day I'll marry you," even that much more interesting. Kurt kind of got that Vegeta hairline and the brows and everything. The Ant Queen also reminds me of a Namekian. I'll try and put pictures up here again. Like, half xenomorph, half Namekian. The squadron leader she birthed from devouring Kurt straight up looks even more like Vegeta. Even then, his exoskeleton body also looking a lot like the Saiyan armor worn in Dragon Ball Z. The Ant Queen herself also gives me huge Dragon Ball feels, reminding me of King Piccolo. I don't really know why. I don't know if it's like the humanization of both characters or just the similar plot line. The Ant Queen wants to grow her population, will kill countless to do so, and wants to dominate the world, wants to free the king. This Chimera Ant arc feels much, much darker. It is a much more serious shift in tone right away from the more previous lighthearted adventures, building up into what's going to likely be very dark, very intense, and because of that, like, I hope, very cathartic and tragic, which is what the King Piccolo saga towards the end of Dragon Ball felt like. And I mean, we just watched 2 innocent children get eaten. These Chimera Ants are evolving and growing in numbers and in size. They want to kill. They want to dominate and take over. This is why I'm afraid. I know Togashi loves Dragon Ball. If he's pulling from the King Piccolo saga, that scares me. Because in the Piccolo saga, Master Roshi died. Krillin died. You had Goku going from happy-go-lucky, confident, enthusiastic, optimist to "it should have been me." There were only like three moments in the original Dragon Ball that actually really got to me. Either made me tear up and cry or just made me really emotional. When Goku's grandpa Gohan came back, when Goku reunited with Upa, and when Goku found Krillin dead. So, what here is going to make me cry here, huh? What is going to make me cry here? I'm not looking forward to that. But let's move on to something a little lighthearted again. Let's take a break from the darkness. I love the scene when Gon tries tracking the scent along with the dog. Even getting down on all fours, getting down on the ground all fours. Even Killua says, Gon's nose is as sharp as a dog's. Gon was raised on Whale Island, as we know. surrounded by the untamed forest and creatures large and small. His earliest tests as a child, all by himself on that island, no friends, just by himself. They hinged on his symbiosis with the environment around him, becoming one with nature. Really harkened back to the earliest episodes of the anime when we saw just how completely in tune with nature Gon is, how heightened his senses are. Scenes like being able to track and catch up with and see the Kiriko, being able to smell Leorio's cologne to guide himself and Kurapika through the swamp to find the finish line. And this was before Nen aura enhancement was even a thing. And I just love also all the scenes that depict Killua like a cat and Gon like a dog. I love that. It's so fitting and symbolic. Sorry. My next thought in my mind, we got to go back to the darkness again. We got to go dark again. The two children. Like I spoke about earlier, representations of pure innocence and even like tests of innocence. Togashi does this quite a bit, using characters or lines of dialogue as like litmus tests or filters for our thoughts or morals or our sensibilities. I mean, like, take Hisoka. Hisoka as a whole is a character as a moral test or a test of sensibility or where you stand. Some people are like hesitant to even want to call him one of their favorite characters, to call him cool, to call him great, because of what others tend to label him as, whether they understand him as a character or not. Hisoka is one of my favorite characters by far, and I say that as someone who I confidently believe understands Hisoka better than most diehard fans of Hunter x Hunter, and most people reacting to Hunter x Hunter on YouTube like me do. I mean, frankly, you add up all my post-episode analysis discussions together, I probably have done over 100 hours of just analyzing and discussing in-depth Hunter x Hunter. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn, or, if I do say so myself, I think I understand Hunter x Hunter more than most. These two children are no different as like a test of innocence, or a test of one's sensibilities or morals. Like, how did you or I initially react when Reina said to Kurt in bed to her brother, "One day I'm going to marry you"? I even reacted uneasy at first, because that's my grown-up adult mind thinking like an adult, thinking, oh, that's odd to say. But these are innocent little children who have no real understanding of concepts like that. You have to be in the shoes and be in the mindset of the character. Reina is just trying to tell her brother she loves him and wants to be with him forever, because that's how children think in the simple lives they have. Just like Kurt tells her he will protect her forever. And that's what hurts so bad when the two of them are attacked and killed. Like, really just like a punch to the gut. Their last moments together, the brother trying to protect his sister. And we see he got killed first. She likely had to witness her brother get killed, standing there alone, her brother unable to protect her, and she gets killed next. At least I hope they were killed and not eaten alive. And their bodies get taken back to the cave to be eaten. Their DNA, their identities, their bodies corrupted, played with, turned into something ugly. You see the similarities I was talking about earlier with the symbolism of alien, assault, no consent, corruption. These innocent children and their bodies transformed into humanoid chimera. Their innocence corrupted. See how that can be a much more serious conversation? Children are the simplest symbol of purity, and we've just seen them be subsumed and absorbed into some new monstrosity. A monster literally wearing their face. That monster literally wearing the boy's face. There's a fascinating ethical ambiguity here. The Ant Queen is totally indifferent to human suffering. But like, she's an insect. This is nature. Is she evil? Or is she merely acting out of instinct as an animal or insect or lesser species naturally would? And so what constitutes evil? What constitutes monstrosity? And I think that's a fascinating thought this episode is inviting us to reflect on. And so the squadron leader is born from the Ant Queen feeding on the two children. Was he born from just the boy or born from both of them? And I'll be interested to see whether she gives birth to a girl too next. Like if she ate the boy, laid an egg, then ate the girl, laid another egg. Or laid both eggs, but only the boy hatched first. And that if there will be a girl hatched. And if they remember each other, recognizing each other's familiar faces. Or if they retain the memories. That would be fucked up. I cannot wait for next episode. I can already tell this is going to get deep and complex and messed up. And that's where I'm going to end today's discussion. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button to let me know. And better yet, subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop in this community. Keep the conversation going down in the comments below. And if you're interested in early access, exclusive content, and unedited reactions, check out my Patreon. But having said all that, and with that said, so long, until next time, thank you, have a good one, peace.